Since our motor is on order, we have a couple weeks, maybe 3, to do miscellaneous things. So it's a good time to figure out a lot of these kind of secondary things. So what we have here is an electrical system for a gas car, which is pretty much still mostly intact. I've still got most of this stuff here. This is all the stuff that was attached to the engine, all the sensors and all that stuff. So all the wiring is still here. Now I might be able to reuse some of it, so that's why I haven't cut it all off yet. So what I've done so far is I've reattached, or I guess I should say replaced the 12-volt battery right there with our new 12-volt battery. That's the one we're going to be using, the approximate location. And so what I've done is I've plugged everything back in, and then just to make sure that everything's working, and of course everything is, because we haven't removed anything yet. So that's a good first step. And now that we have that working, just to verify, now we're going to go ahead and start kind of figuring out all the different wires that are just going to nowhere, that are redundant, that we simply don't need. And so I've already determined this is all alternator stuff right here. So I kind of did a continuity check just to verify. That's what I got going on right here. Just checking some of those wires and see what's going in there. And so I found out that a lot of these are just, as I suspected, just redundant. So they're not going anywhere except to here. So they're not powering the car or anything. They're just going in here. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and just temporarily remove the radiator. And the only reason why is because our wiring harness is going right behind it. So that will make it easier for us to get to that wiring harness and just kind of filter out some of this wire that we don't need. So I'm basically going to start here at the battery. And over on the driver's side, we've just loosened up the fuse box right here. There's a couple relays mounted here, but mostly it's fuses, and just trying to figure out what's what here. That's kind of a pretty timely process here, but it needs to be done. On this particular car, being a Japanese domestic market car, everything's in Japanese, so don't know what that says. So we're going to have to figure this out the old-fashioned way. I mean, I do understand what colors are, so it's pretty easy to just trace stuff back, you know, based off the color of the wire. I thought it's kind of interesting on this car. I've taken away all the wire. I've opened up all the wire here in the front, so I'm tracing some of this stuff back, you know, because it's kind of confusing. At the battery, there might be just 2 wires coming out of it. But by the time it gets over here, there's like 6, and so this is why. So it looks like what happens here is one wire, you can see that big fat white wire, one wire becomes 3, and then that same wire gets divided again. There's like another 2 that come out of this one, so another wire becomes 3, so it ends up with 6 coming out of it. It's just all based off of one wire. So one wire going in, 6 coming out over here. So it's kind of crazy, but it starts to make sense. The only way you really can, you know, figure this stuff out is to sit here and just take this stuff apart and look at it and trace stuff back. So trying to determine what's all working here. So it looks like the black box right there on the left is something to do with the wipers. A couple of the wires I've traced back to the wiper motor, so we know that we need to keep that. I think there's probably 2 relays in there is what I'm guessing. And then the blue one, I can't tell what that does. It doesn't seem to do anything because I've disconnected the wire. It actually has its own separate wire here for power. It's this weird green and orange connector here that's kind of very distinctive. It stands out like it's like screaming out at you. I don't know what the deal is with that, but doesn't make any difference if it's plugged in or not. It doesn't do anything. So I checked all the systems on the car. Everything's working that I want to work, which is everything except the engine junk. So it's yeah, don't know what it does. Don't know what I've traced the wire. I mean, the wires coming out of it are these big, relatively big green wires, and they seem to come down and they go into the car. But then the same type of wires right here come out back to what was connected to the engine. So it must have something to do with the engine. It must be starter related or something. I don't know. Something to do with the engine. But the funny thing is that the wires don't go here. They go in somewhere and then they come back out. So I'm going to go and trace those down, that kind of stuff, because I want to know. I want to know exactly what this stuff does before I clip it off. I want to know 100% what's going on here. And then, oh yeah, there's another relay over here too. I'm not sure what that one does. I'm going to have to find out before I clip it off. But yeah, just that blue one's the only one we know for sure. Also on the inside of the car here, on this side, we have the brown, another brown one over there. And that's next to the air conditioning. So I strongly suspect that's air conditioning related. I'm leaving that circuit alone right now. I'm going to try to repurpose that wire over there and use it for a heater instead, since it's already wired up and already has a relay connected. I'm going to probably repurpose it. It worked on my first car that I did, so I'm going to do that again. Reverse engineering all the wiring and basically getting rid of all of the wires that had to do with the engine itself, since we don't need any of that. Some of it we'll be able to keep and repurpose. So that's what we're doing right here. So this was all the stuff that was going to the ECU, which was located over on the passenger seat there. And so I've remove that out here just to have better access to it, and then it all leads back to the box over here, as you would expect, and some of it goes out directly out to the car. So I've already gone through the procedure here of back tracing. All of this stuff right here was stuff that went out to the car, and I've double checked and confirmed that it goes back to the ECU over here. So basically what happens is underneath the carpeting here, this wire continues on and goes over here. So if one wanted to, if one really had a lot of time, you could rip up the carpeting here and then go ahead and take all that wire out, but I don't really see the purpose for that. That's going to be way too time consuming to save like 10 ounces or something, if even that. So I'm not going to do that. Okay, now we're going to be doing a little bit of restoration on the car. So this is the front shelf, I guess just right on the front dash. So I'm working on the area right now. I'm going to go ahead and just do some restoration here. So this area is looking kind of ill, so I kind of want to repair it. The vinyl is peeling off here. This is how it came stock here. I believe this is the stock color. It's all just peeling up here and looking kind of bad here. So here's what it looks like when you take it apart. Just take these 12 screws off here. Back, and this is what we end up with. So it's kind of a wild design. So you don't need the vinyl on the front. That's completely separate, so we can probably take that off for sure. And I think what we'll do is just take these pieces and just peel this stuff off. Maybe sand this MDF, this fiberboard, sand it down, maybe just paint it white or something like that to match the other parts of the car. I think is what we'll do, or something. Here's what it's looking like with the vinyl off. Looks much nicer. This is an interesting material, and I'm beginning to think that this is how the car might have came stock or something. I think the gray vinyl might have been added afterwards. That stuff right there was tacked on. That's why it was peeling off. If you look at the way that the construction of this stuff is, see the fiber? These fibers go into the whole thing. So it's like a totally custom material. And what's interesting about it is, the reason why I think this might have been stock at one point is because the color. This sage color, it matches the interior color almost perfectly. I got my seats out right here. As you can see right here, this matches the interior seat color pretty nicely. So since it matches the interior color, I'm going to just put this back together. So there it is, put back together. So that was simpler than I was expecting. I thought I might have to paint it or something like that, but this I think this is going to work out a lot better, because we have a color here that matches our interior, and everything else is already done, so it's not really in bad shape. I probably could touch up some paint here. Other than that, though, clean it up a little bit more, but it's basically ready to go back in. I think it's going to look a whole lot better than it did before. So we're back working on the electrical system. So right now we're focusing on the heated seats. So I've got some, I've been doing some tracing of all these different wires here. So we've determined that there's 3 circuits that we don't need anymore, at least as far as the old engine as it was configured. So circuit number 10 here, the far right one, is the circuit that we're going to be repurposing as our heated seat circuit. It was formerly engine sensors. All these wires used to go out to the engine bay. There were actually a couple more of them spliced in here, all of them powering different components for the engine sensors. So that's what it was being used for. And then we've also got circuit number 13, which is up here, the far right one. That one was the radiator fan specifically. And then the circuit number 6, which is this one right here. This is the AC system. It's on a keyed circuit. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later, about what we're going to repurpose that one for. But right now, we're focusing on the heated seats. So I'm going to need 2 wires here. I'm going to leave an extra one just in case I want to add something to the circuit. But this should suffice for what we're going to be using it for. This was originally a 15 amp circuit. That should be fine. Our heated seats draw 4 amps a piece. So both of them on high would be about 8 amps. So we probably could reduce it to a 10 if we want to be safe about it, but I think the wire can handle 15, so it shouldn't be a problem. So what we can do now is, since we have this wire here, we have our fuses here, and this is already a keyed circuit, so we don't have to worry about splicing into the ignition. It's already spliced in. Now we can just simply repurpose this to our seats. Here's what our connections look like after they've been soldered together. So I'm using a new product here that I've fallen in love with on this second car project that I'm working on, and this is what they look like right here. It's this whole package of them, so they come in different sizes. And so what they are, it's basically some solder with some flux wrapped in heat shrink, and then you've got some glue right here. The red parts on this one, it's blue on the medium, and then yellow on the bigger one is basically a glue. So what happens is you use your heat gun or a match. You can use a lighter as well. That works just as easily. And what you get is you get that. So what it does is it glues it, it heat shrinks, wraps it, and it also solders the whole thing. So you get yourself a nice, super tight, watertight connection. And it's pretty simple to do. You can't really mess it up too much, so it's pretty nice. It's especially good in places that you don't want to, that if you're not going to have access to. Now this particular area is not so bad because I would have access to it, but if I was doing something like, say, underneath the car or something tucked behind, maybe some wires back there or something, someplace. In fact, I've actually done a couple wires on that. I'm going to get to that shortly. But yeah, it's can't say enough good things about these. I highly recommend them if you're going to be doing a project. So the next step is to get all your wiring sorted out of how you're going to connect it from the car to the seats. So in this particular case, this is an EV conversion, so the old ECU that was located underneath the passenger seat has been removed, and we don't have any use for that anymore. So we have a whole bunch of extra wiring here. So I've used a couple wires here, and I've just allocated these 2 right here. So they've already been reconnected to the circuit that we're going to be using here. So we're going to be using circuit number 10, which is the last circuit here on the end. And so that's already been done. So now you just have to kind of figure out where you want to put your switches for the seats. Now, this is what I'm going to be using here. They have like, these are kind of nice. You can get like a 20 pack of these for like $10, I think it was, or something like that. So these are really, I find these to be really nice. They have a nice quality, nice feel to it. They have a nice LED that comes on when you push it. So you basically, these are kind of positively wired. So you have to have a positive current go in and come out for your switch, and then the extra one on the end is for the light. If you want to ground the light. If you don't want the light to show up, you simply just don't connect the ground wire and just have it run through. So yeah, I like these a lot. I think we'll probably put these right here. So we'll probably line them up and just put them right here. That will look pretty nice. Next step is to locate where you want to put your switches. I find that using masking tape and having something that's precise to measure with helps a lot. So I kind of determined that this is the location I want to do right here. So now we're just going to drill a small hole right here just to start, and then we'll enlarge it with this. This just so happens to be at full size, is about 3/4, which is about what this is, and then we'll have to use a file to kind of enlarge a little bit. There's a couple little grooves in it, a couple little notches in it, so we'll use a file to enlarge it a little bit more to get our switch to fit. So now we're working on installing a little booster heater, and this is just to kind of give a little bit of extra heat. The controller is going to be heating the internal heater core here, which is in here, and that will be producing a significant amount of heat. I think at least enough to take the chill off. It's not going to be hot, but it should be at least warm enough to take the chill off in spring and fall. I mean, I don't know if this is a winter car, but I think for spring and fall at least it would be enough to keep it adequately warm in here. And then if I need some other instant heat, that's what this is for, just to kind of boost it a little bit more in case I want to drive it in the wintertime a bit or something. If there's a little bit of fogging happening on the windows or something and there's just not enough heat coming in, just a little extra little booster heater. So this is like a $17 item on eBay, so super cheap. I might want to upgrade it because it's not really all that powerful. I just tested it right now. It's 9.5 amps at 13.2 volts, which is 125 watts, which is it's supposed to be 150 according to the box here. Interesting that it's in German here too. This is the box it's going to be going in, so we got lots and lots and lots of room in there. We could put a couple of them in here if we wanted to. Maybe that would be another cheap alternative, is have two of them in here. But we're going to be putting the box back in. We're going to be rebuilding the rest of the system here too. We've got this stuff right here, so this is what goes in here, and this is what controls our exterior recirculating air versus outside air. So if we want recirculating air, that's what happens, and then this closes and allows outside air right there to come in. But as you can see, it's in pretty bad shape. There's this foam stuff is just crumbling. It's just dust. It's nasty. It's just dirt. So I'm going to clean all this up and probably get some new seals on here, some weather stripping, and then kind of come back to that and just kind of rebuild that because it's time. And as far as the wiring goes, I'm reusing the air conditioning wire since it was already already in place. I'm reusing the relay, even though I really probably don't need to. The nice advantage of using the relay is that it's already tied back into the key, into the ignition system, or the on position at the key on the steering column. So it's already tied back to that. So it's kind of like you're just keeping the system the way it is. And so as far as the power supply goes, it's going back to the same fuse as it was before, which is fuse number 6, 15 amp fuse. We're going to have about, I guess it's about 125, well, 9.5 amps going through it. So that should be plenty of safety margin there. So we have excessive wire capability for our energy output here. And so yeah, we've just this is what was powering something before, and now it's going to be, these two wires are going to be used for our heater. We can actually power two of them if we want. I'm thinking that might be an option, but if this one turns out to be kind of weak, but we can just kind of go with what we have here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've already modified the air conditioning switch over here. I got it to work already, so I've already tested it out. This is the kind of switch we're going to be installing, matching our heated seats. Here's what our auxiliary heater is looking like. It's been fitted in the box here. Got it all secured, got all the wiring done. We checked it out. So just turn it on right there. We got a nice light. We've got heat coming out right here. A little bit. That's what we want. So that's pretty much ready. So let's go ahead and install this back in. Here's what it's looking like installed. It's looking pretty good, went in pretty smoothly. Everything's functional. There's going to be a shelf unit right here. Our shelf unit, once we put that back in, this is going to cover all this right here. It's down to about here or so. The next step is we're going to focus on the power steering here. So I've been debating of whether or not I want to keep it or not, and I think I made my decision on this particular car, just being so light and everything. I think we're going to go ahead and just delete it. What we're going to do is we're going to use a pump to suck out the liquids, and then we're going to cap the lines right here. This is the line from the pump into the system, and then that's the return line coming back out. That goes up to the reservoir and back to the pump. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop it right here. We're going to just basically from this connection over to that connection. We'll figure out some sort of way to loop it. And here's what our system looks like when it's completed. What we've done is we recycled a little bit of hose right here, and we loop that circuit right around. Next step is to go ahead and install the accelerator pedal. And so this is the unit we're going to be installing here. I've used this on another car. It works really well. It's a Hall effect 0 to 5 volt model. Kind of a generic brand here. Works really well on the other one, so why not use it again? I like the design. It's nice and simple. Nice straight. Has good good feel to it. So and it comes with all the wiring we already need. We already know what these wires do and everything. It comes with a chart telling you what all the wires are. It also has another connector as well. So we simply solder into the other side of the connector and then just simply snap that in place. And we're ready to go here. But for now, we want to go ahead and get this thing installed. So yeah, it's looking at it right here. It looks like it's going to fit pretty nicely against the firewall here. We may have to cut off the right corner here. It's like this little corner right here. We're going to have to chop that off a little. So here's the accelerator pedal installed. It came out pretty nice. It's pretty tricky to get it exactly right. This big lump right here is really in the way. It's the wheel arch. You can't do anything about that. But I wanted to make sure that it had spacing correctly, and that's about right. About a hand is about what you want here. So got that done, and I wanted it to be kind of centered on here. I wanted this to be centered with this. Like this, it should be a little bit lower here and then a little bit higher here, which it is. So I think it looks pretty good. The only thing is I couldn't quite get the height right. It still comes out pretty good. I mean, I wanted to make sure that I had the full range of motion here, which we do. So that was important, but I mean, I just couldn't get it any lower without it interfering with the arm here hitting against the wheel arch. So it just really wasn't going to get any lower. So it's just slightly higher than the brake pedal. It's probably a little bit different. I mean, because it's usually about level or slightly lower on most vehicles. So this one's just a slightly higher, but it's like I said, there's literally nothing else I could do here. I looked at this for 2.5 hours, so it's kind of tricky. This is as good as it's going to get here. So I ended up, as far as bolting, I bolted it back straight through. I used a 2x2 blocking right here to get it to work, because I mean otherwise it was interfering over here. And then I did cut off that little right corner. It's still like touching over here. So that was just to get it as good as it is now. And then this is just a bolt into the wood. It's not actually going through. It's actually, so there's really effectively just one bolt holding it in, but it's in there solid though. It's also braced on both sides, so not going anywhere. So that's that. And here's what it looks like with the tray back installed. Looking pretty good. I really like how when I took off that gray vinyl, how we unearthed this beautiful kind of sage fabric color, which perfectly matches our interior seats. So I like how that looks. It's not going to be the easiest thing to keep clean, but it's at least it matches the seat, so I like that a lot. I like how the color tone looks really cool. So yeah, this area is pretty much done here. We're just waiting for the electric motor to arrive and our controller. Once we have that wiring, we'll be able to bring that in, do all of our mending right here to our various components on the car, and then there'll be some wiring to do here in the center console for the controls. Most of those new switches will be going on the console. We've added our heated seats. Those are already done, waiting to be put back in here, so we just have to modify our console a little bit, and then that will be the interior.